Welcome back to Stab the Dragon Productions for episode number 131. This is Monday, October 2nd, 2023, as we continue the Texas Rye Whiskey Tournament, bracket number 2. This will be our fifth matchup. Tonight we've got Herman Marshall going against Ranger Creek 44 Rye. Now the difference between brackets 1 and 2 is a couple of new whiskeys. This is one of them. And I've rearranged the matchups a little bit to get the proofs lined up a little bit better. But also there's a different goal. In bracket 1, I was really looking for the rye that had the clearest, cleanest, strong rye flavor. Okay, it's classic rye. This time around, I'm looking for the rye that I like the best because there's two types of rye whiskeys in Texas. You've got the rye whiskey that is exposed to the elements, and you get the Texas funk, or you get the rye whiskey that's in a climate-controlled warehouse and there's no funk. And there you get the clean, clear rye flavor. So sometimes that Texas funk can overwhelm a rye whiskey. I love the Texas funk, but do I like that better than the clean, clear, crisp rye flavor? I don't know. So the first bracket, I tilted things in the direction of the pure rye flavor. This time I'm opening it up to say, well, let's look at the Texas funk and see which one I prefer the most. So in other words, if I was going to drink a whiskey 5 times, 3 out of 2 times, which one am I going to go, right? So just the facts now about these two whiskeys. Herman Marshall Texas Rye Whiskey, fighting out of Garland, Texas, a suburb of Dallas, but they're building a new distillery in Wiley, Texas, northeast of Garland on Lake Levant. Each of their ryes is a single barrel, and therefore the proofs will vary. This was throwing me for a loop when I was trying to figure this whiskey out, because mine is a 92, and all the bottles that I saw said single barrel on them. And so I actually called the distillery and said, hey, what's up with your rye whiskey? And sure enough, they do single barrels exclusively, and the proof may vary. Some of the bottles I've seen pictures of, I've not seen in real life, but I've seen pictures that were 102 proof. Boy, if I came across that, I'd get it immediately, because this is good stuff at 92. So also, Herman Marshall sold a couple of years ago to Dry County. So their bottles and labels are changing over. Now the mash bill that I've got for this whiskey, according to their website, and again, thank you for clarity and openness here. The mash bill is 77% rye, 23% malted barley. And I've seen that the whiskey is aged 4 to 6 years. So, man, that's a long time for a Texas whiskey. So a lot of that time must be in a climate-controlled warehouse. There's no way you're going to age this in this climate for 6 years. So, and actually, Herman Marshall doesn't have the funk strongly. I mean, it's got a little bit, but so that's my evaluation of it. What about price? Total Wine, $40.99. Goody Goody, $46.99. Specs, the website did not list it, and I don't recall seeing it at Specs. I don't think it's there. Now, in the first bracket, this whiskey won its first round against Devil's River Rye. That was a 90 proof. And it won its second round against one of my personal favorites, Lead Slingers, at 90 proof. But then it lost in the semifinals to Blackland that was 83 proof. Imagine that. Blackland 83 went on to win that competition, by the way. So Ranger Creek here. This is new to me, although you can see I've sampled it some. It's in this second bracket because we had one whiskey that went defunct and is unavailable, and another whiskey got disqualified. Fighting out of San Antonio. This is aged for at least 2 years, according to the bottle, and it is 94 proof. It has a 100% malted rye mash bill. Again, thank you for the clarity there. Goody Goody has it listed for $42.99, for a 375 milliliter. Specs has the 750 listed for $54.41. Total Wine $55.99. So they're mighty proud of their whiskey. Okay, it's in the upper price range there. So now let's go at this competition and look at the bottles first. So we've got Herman Marshall in a flask style bottle and a fairly plain label, you know, a little bit bold there with the big green HM, but it's, you know, kind of a fairly modest bottle. The Ranger Creek, on the other hand, is kind of a classic bottle, and the label is pretty cool there. So I'm going to give the bottle advantage to Ranger Creek. But notice the color distinctions here. Ranger Creek is very light compared with the Herman Marshall. Let's look at the glasses. There we go. Ranger Creek looks like a 3-year-old Scotch, basically. There's just, it's a very light straw color. And the Herman Marshall, you know, pretty dark. I've had darker, but that's reasonably dark. So now let's start with the lower proof, which is Herman Marshall. Do a nosing. Smell some sweetness and some rye. I don't really smell much Texas funk. Ranger Creek. I really don't get much of anything with the Ranger Creek. So neither of them comes across as a strong rye on the nose. That's a little disappointing. But I'm going to give slight advantage to Herman Marshall, as I'm able to get just a little bit. Just not much. Yeah, that time I got a little bit more. A little evergreen rye flavor there. So Herman Marshall will get the advantage on how its appearance and on the nose, but Ranger Creek wins the bottle. So now we're going to have to go on to tasting. Starting off with the 92 proof Herman Marshall. There, it's got some rye flavor. Nice mouthfeel. It's not the strongest rye. I'm not getting really any, or not much Texas funk, if any. Mildly sweet, some barrel notes there. That's it's very good for sure, but it's not got much of the Texas funk, and the rye flavor is muted just a little bit with the barrel flavor and some caramel flavor going on there. So that's a mighty fine whiskey, but it's just in the way that ryes go, it's not strong in that rye flavor. It's there. I'm going to say it's a kind of a medium level. Okay, Ranger Creek. Now for a 100% rye mash bill, this is not what you would expect. I mean, it's, there's a wide variety on rye spices, and this has definitely got a rye spice note to it, but it's coming at it from a different angle than what most ryes have. It's very, very good. That's, there's no Texas funk either. Wow. These are two very different ryes. But I'm going to say that Ranger Creek does have the most rye flavor of the two. It's just a very different kind of rye flavor. It's just bringing out some baking spices, maybe. That's fascinating. The difference between those two. Finish is going to be about the same. Mouthfeel is about the same. So this is going to be very tough to decide which of these two I like the most. I'm going to say the Ranger Creek is smoother. There's a little bit of a harsh edge to Herman Marshall. I hadn't thought about it, but I didn't even try to do the visual, mix them up and try to figure out which is which because the visual is so stark, so I didn't even try to do that this time around. Ranger Creek. As far as strength, like the burn, they're about equal. Now I like a whiskey burn. Smooth, when people talk about smooth whiskeys, that can be overdone for me, but so can harsh. Bourbon's got some harsh notes to it, which is why a lot of people who are Scotch whiskey fans or Irish whiskey fans, they don't really like bourbon because of that harsh note. I like that. Of these two, though, the burn level's about the same, but Herman Marshall's got a little bit of that harsh quality to it. Wow. Herman Marshall was my favorite going into this, and it's very close. But I think I'm gonna say Ranger Creek for the win. It's very, very close. And Ranger Creek is, quite expensive. But I'm not really considering price. I'm really going off of taste. I mean, the price could enter in if it was a tie, and this is almost a tie. But yeah, I'm going to say Ranger Creek for the win. And I never would have thought that. I mean, I'd sampled the Ranger Creek for a while now just to get used to it. But I've had the Herman Marshall longer, and it was kind of a favorite. And it still is. I mean, there's no. I haven't had any bad whiskeys in this competition. Not any. So Ranger Creek, 44 rye. That's the winner. There you go. All right, next time we'll be looking at Milam and Green 94 proof versus the Acre Texas Rye rum finished at 100 proof. That's what we'll look at next time. I can't guarantee it'll be next week, but next time I do the competition. All right, well, this is Stab the Dragon. signing off. Out here.